You know, for the longest time, if you wanted to build an app, you needed a very specific skill. You had to know how to code. If you didn't, well, you had to find someone who did. But that's all changing. We're stepping into a wild new era where really anyone with a good idea can become a builder. You can turn a simple thought into a real, working app, sometimes in just a matter of minutes.
And think about what this really means. This is a total game changer. The power to create a custom tool just for you to solve your unique problems. That power is now in your hands, all thanks to AI. It's a huge shift from just being a consumer of technology to becoming an active creator.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the magic of building apps without writing a single line of code. Then, we'll dive into the responsibilities that come with that power. Things like security, risk, and most importantly, the mindset you need to build things that actually last.
So let's start with this whole new way of building. Some people are calling it vibe coding, which I kind of love. Because instead of writing rigid, strict lines of code, you just describe the feeling, the function, the vibe of what you want to create, and you let the AI do the heavy lifting.
So how does this actually work? It's almost shockingly simple. In a tool like Google AI Studio, you literally just start by describing your idea in plain English. The AI then spits out the code and, get this, a live preview you can play with right away. If you don't like something, you just chat with the AI, tell it to make a change, and poof, it's done. Once you're happy, you hit deploy, and you've got a live URL to share.
And this isn't just a theory. People were building real, genuinely useful stuff with this. For example, one developer made a flag-guessing game. Another one created a personal idea inbox to send quick thoughts straight into their note-taking app. Both of these things were built in minutes, not weeks or months. It's pretty incredible.
Okay, so it's obviously incredibly powerful. But, and this is a big but, with this power comes some serious responsibility. Because when it's this easy to create something, it's also really easy to forget what you're actually building. You're not just creating features, you're creating something else entirely.
This is the core idea we have to wrap our heads around. Every single feature you add, a login button, a file upload form, a settings page, every one of them is a potential way into your system. Every feature is a door.
And we're not just talking about any old doors. These are doors that are protecting the most valuable things in your app. We're talking about your users' accounts, their private data, maybe even financial information, and the power to control the entire system. And you better believe that attackers are out there, right now, looking for any door that was left unlocked, is a little weak, or was just forgotten about.
So, to protect these doors, you have to understand the people who are trying to get through them. And that means you have to learn to think in two completely different ways. You need the mindset of a creator, but you also need the mindset of an attacker.
The difference here is absolutely critical. See, a creator thinks constructively. They ask, how do I make this work the right way? But an attacker, they think deconstructively. They ask, how was this supposed to work? And how can I break it? They're not just looking for bugs, they're looking for flawed assumptions.
And this is where things get even trickier. As your app gets bigger and you add more features, the risk doesn't just add up, it multiplies. Every single new component is another door you have to defend.
Just think about the difference. A simple little app is manageable, right? You can probably keep track of all the doors, but a complex system? Whoa! Now you have tons of users with different permission levels. You're connecting to outside services, you have databases, maybe even other AI agents. The number of potential weak points just explodes.
It really boils down to this fundamental law of designing systems. The more moving parts you have, the greater the chance that something can be exploited. And that's exactly why security can't just be something you tack on at the end. It has to be baked in from the very beginning.
So I know, that probably sounds a bit daunting, right? But the good news is we are not starting from scratch here. Decades of computer science have given us a solid set of core principles for building systems that don't just work, but can actually survive out there in the real world.
Okay, principle number 1 is least privilege. It's so simple but so powerful. The idea is, don't give any part of your system, or any user for that matter, more access than it absolutely needs to do its job. That way, if one little piece gets compromised, the damage is contained. Next up is zero trust thinking. And this is really a shift in mindset. You have to assume that nothing is safe by default. You never, ever just trust data that's coming from a user or some other service. Every single request has to be checked and verified every single time. And finally, there's defense in depth. The core idea here is to assume that any single layer of your security will eventually fail. It's just a matter of time. So, what do? You build multiple layers. Think of it like a castle. An attacker shouldn't be able to just pick one lock. They should have to get through a moat, high walls, guards, and alarms. Okay, here's a super practical and critical tip for anyone who's excited to start building API keys. Just think of an API key as a secret password that lets your app talk to AI services. Now, when you're just developing, tools can help keep it safe for you. But when you launch your app for real, you must hide that key on a server. Putting it in your public code is literally like leaving the key to your house right under the doormat for everyone to see.
So after all this talk about attackers and risk and all these layers of defense, it's really easy to think that security is kind of a negative thing, right? That it's a field that's just driven by fear of what might go wrong. But that's not the whole story at all. Is that really what this is all about? Building things just because we're afraid of being attacked?
No, absolutely not. At its heart, security isn't about fear. It's about care. It's about caring for the people who will be affected by what you build, caring about the trust they put in you, and caring about the data you've promised to protect. It's a positive act of good craftsmanship.
And that really brings us to this final, powerful idea to leave you with. Anyone can make a system work. That's the first step. But ensuring that system can survive, that it can withstand the pressures of the real world and truly protect its users, that is the mark of a great, responsible creator. And the challenge for this new generation of builders is to be both.